So at what point did you have a conversation with your wife that says, so you know this holiday that I was taking, it's now looking like it's a business venture and I might need to spend a significant amount of time in the Philippines.
And we own an island.
I'm still trying to get my head around this thing, which is in Malta, you meet this woman, and one of the first things you tell her is that you're a pirate, right? Having been concerned about revealing your identity to ordinary people, what was it about this person that made you think, you know what?
First of all, she was Italian. Secondly, we're in Malta. Very pirate place. I mean, I'd already been there twice, so I wasn't in a strange place. The people I worked for were the family, and they are very, how should we put it, very high up in Malta, and no one crosses the family. They're like high echelon. I'm in a hotel paid for by them. I'm having a rest, and I've just delivered all their cash. So I'm feeling kind of relaxed. I really like this girl, and I wasn't trying to impress her, but she asked the right question, and I decided to give an honest answer and told her, yeah, I'm a pirate.
What was her reaction?
Wonderful. It was like, oh, cool. Like, you know, I could have said, oh, you know, like I got a shop or, you know, work in a factory. It didn't make any difference whatsoever.
And so, did you remain a pirate after you got married?
No, and yes. I left Jeddah. I went to live in Italy. We got married. I started a business, very successful business in Italy, where we did a lot of work with London. We made very good money and put down roots for a very good future, which even today are there. And I completely left piracy. I got messages every couple of months. I'd get a message come through with an offer of work, or could I do this, or what are my opinions on how to do that job, and I did that. So I was still connected in a way,
So you like
without actually doing it.
So you were like a pirate consultant?
A consultant, you know. And what happened was that being in that situation, pirates, active pirates, looked upon me as somebody who could mediate, somebody who could be trusted, somebody who they could mostly mediate. If there was a problem, I'd become called in.
Problem between who? Different pirate groups? Or?
Different pirate groups, and including Somali pirates at the time, and Korean pirates. The Korean pirates, no one ever speaks about Korean pirates, but I have to tell you that they're probably the most active, the most profound, the most secretive that there are. And they've got connections absolutely everywhere. They've got European connections and Chinese, South Korean area of competence, all the way down to the Sulu pirates. And they were, more than anyone, regularly contacting me.
For mediation.
Until it was around 81, 82, or a little bit later, they told me, They don't tell you anything. They just say, they ask you, have you ever been to the Philippines? No. You should go. Fine. And then a couple of months go by. Have you ever been to the Philippines? Have you been there yet? No. You should go. And so when this happens 3 or 4 times, that I've got to go to the Philippines.
They tell you, do they say, have you ever been to
They
this
don't-
place in the Philippines? They just literally say the Philippines.
The Philippines.
Okay.
It's a big place. There's 65 million people live
Yeah.
there. And there's 7,000 islands, It's big.
This is through phone. This is through message. It's through letter.
This is through message, this is through phone, and this is through personal visits. They send somebody to you.
Send somebody to what, have a cup of tea, have a chat, and then
They
leave
know
with a line,
where
or
I
is it-
am.
Is it as quick as knock on the door? Because obviously our reference is more like films of.
I
Is it knock on the door? You should go to the
I
Philippines.
started a
then walk
company,
off?
and in this company, a guy walks in the front door and he says, hello, and within a couple of minutes you realise that this guy is from the pirates. And so then you say to yourself, how does he know I'm here? Yeah, they do.
But what is it about him that makes you immediately know, or at least suspect, that he's part of that sort of pirate brotherhood?
Simply the fact that he knows where you are. Simply the fact he's walked through your front door.
Could be a customer though.
No, not a customer. He's
Why?
either
What does he say that
Maltese or
makes it-
he's Korean, or he's definitely not a customer.
So are they walking in and pretending to be a customer?
No, they walk
Until-
in brazenly and
Yeah.
say, hi, I know who you are. I've got a job for you.
So it really is like what you sometimes
Straight
see in the
up,
films.
no
Yeah.
argy-bargy, straight at you. And so I said, right, we've got to go. Let's make it a holiday. Let's go to the Philippines. We go to Bangkok, and then we'll nip to the Philippines. and
Were
have
you and your wife?
a
your
wife and a couple of friends.
And so did your wife and or your friends know that you were going to be doing some pirate stuff on the
No,
side?
no, only I knew that.
They think you're going on just a holiday.
It's just a holiday for them.
And were they not surprised that you suddenly suggest that you're going to go to the Philippines? Or
No,
everyone just thought,
no,
"No, it's a good idea"?
they're
Yeah.
Italian. They're, oh, it's great. Let's go.
Do the friends know you're a pirate? You were?
Some of them, yeah.
Did these specific ones that came to the Philippines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
And they never went, you're off on a
They
job.
didn't know what it meant, but they knew I was a pirate.
Yeah.
And so we're there. While we're there, I'm contacted by the Koreans on site people.
Then they just know where you are when you're there.
They know where you are.
So you didn't go, I'm going to the Philippines, this is where I'll be. You just went,
I
"Oh,"
let them know that I'm going to the Philippines.
You didn't say where.
I didn't say, well, we're in Manila. Obviously, you're going to arrive in Manila. And whilst I'm in Manila, I was contacted immediately.
So I'm just going to stop you again because of the way that... So you get to Manila, you didn't have to tell them this is the hotel I'm going to be in. You just went, by the way, I'm getting to Manila on this flight.
Yeah.
See you at some point there.
Yeah, via Bangkok, yeah.
And they just find out where you're staying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Then I come back and they say, so you've been to the Philippines. What did you think? I know, it's great. Great place. For a holiday. And we might have a job for you. Which means we've got a job for you. And there's going to be they knew in advance there was going to be a revolution. 1986, People Power Revolution to kick out Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos. They knew that a year in advance of the revolution. Imagine. We've got some boats there, and there were a couple of yachts there in Manila Harbour that are going to need protecting or moved. And we'd like you to do that. So I said, fine. So I went back down there with the crew.
So what made you say yes to that job?
You
But-
never say no.
No, but bear in mind,
You
you're in
said for a few
Italy.
years you weren't
Yeah,
doing
you're in
jobs.
Italy. You've got a really successful business.
Yeah.
At this stage, you're just doing consultancy, right? So you're not really having to get your hands dirty, right? But they're basically saying, come back, get amongst it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about
And you-
this job made you go,
Yeah,
yeah?
You
you've
can't
got-
refuse.
and you've
Darren.
gone,
Why?
Darren, you can't refuse. It's
what happened? What would have happened if you'd have said no? Actually, I'm going to stay in Italy.
oh, if you'd have said no, a definite no, they wouldn't have contacted you ever again. That's it.
And what
Once
would
you've
have,
said no,
and what would have been wrong with that?
you lose all your connections. You know, surely it's better to stay connected. And so I said, yeah. Not only yeah, but it sounded exciting. You know, there's a revolution. If the revolution goes this way, we're going to need to move these yachts. If it goes the other way, the yachts can stay where they are. And in case it goes that way, we're going to need a crew ready to move them. Fine. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get paid all my expenses. So it's going to cost me nothing. My crew are going to get paid. So let's do it. So we go down there, and 86 it was, and immediately we arrived the day after the revolution started. Amazing timing.
And did your wife come with you as well, or was she?
No, just me and the crew, me and some friends.
And did she know that that's what you were going to do?
No, she thought we would just go in there to the place we went to before, just have a holiday.
Okay.
And so the revolution takes place. Very, very quickly, I think on the third day, Marcos saw the writing on the wall and he's gone. Ferdinando Marcos and his wife Imelda, they're on the plane. Americans have evacuated them. And in comes Coria Aquino with her crew, and they've just arrived from California. They were all staying in California. Coria Aquino and all the rebel congressmen that had been thrown out of the country by Marcos. They all come flying back in. And Coria Aquino's husband had already been, he arrived first and was executed on the plane as it arrived by Marcos people. You know the story.
No, I don't actually know the story.
They shot him on the door of the plane. And consequently, that action caused the revolution to suddenly move forward. And it was only 2 days later that Marcos had to go. And 2 days after that, all the expats, Philippine expats that were in California and other places, all came back to Manila to form a new government. I was put in touch with a congressman called, and I went to see him, and he was absolutely, when there's a revolution and there's somebody, a foreigner, is part of the revolution, they grab you as a kind of a flag, and they took me to the Club Filipino, which is a very high class place. So, and I was introduced as Tony Cummins, who was in EDSA. EDSA is the name of the revolution. It was called the EDSA Revolution. And I'm paraded around with all these congressmen and stuff like that. He was the first person to go into Malacanang Palace after Ferdinando Marcos had gone. So I was immediately connected politically. The job I was there to do, moving the yachts, didn't have to be done because the revolution took place. And he said to me, we started talking about ecology. And I was saying that how you're going to need to protect your islands, I said, from tourism and ecology. And he was taken up with that, and slowly we became very good friends, until in the end he said, I want you to get on this private plane. I want you to go down to my province have a look round and make a report of what you think we can do, especially as tourism is concerned in the future. So I got on a plane, I went down there, and I was taken around this province. Terrible mess. There'd just been a typhoon, so everything was a mess. Everything was a mess. And I came across this island, and it's called Dalopiri Island. Dalopiri Island, so that you've got a visual how the island kind of looks.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "You've got an island."
To the camera. Okay.
"You've got an island," I said, "and it's pretty good." And I showed him. He said, "I'll give you a big chunk of it if you can do anything." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So he gave me that chunk there.
How big's that? How big's the chunk?
So this
11
is yours.
hectares.
11 hectares.
So this is yours.
Yeah.
Is it still yours?
No. 11 hectares of island. There's the island. Oh, all of that.
Wow. So what did you do with it?
We opened the Flying Dog Resort pirate base.
Called the Flying Dog Resort Pirate Base, or just the Flying Dog Resort?
It was called the Flying Dog Resort, but it was a pirate base.
So did it have two functions?
It had the function of a resort to pay for itself.
So
We
people
weren't
would go- so
interested
pe-
in
people-
making money.
So people would go there, and they would go there for their holidays, relax. It's like-
Ecotourism. It was like, it was called the Experience Ecotourism. It was all built of native materials, and as you see from the map, we've got a pirate ship, we've got pirate flag, and it was to explore this whole area, which was under control of the congressman. He controlled this entire area,
Okay.
and we were given this island here.
Right. Okay.
Just so you know, the island next door is called Capul, which was actually Acapulco, where the Spanish galleons sailed to Acapulco, Mexico with the gold from there. So it's very pirate area. And we set up this base there, and then the Koreans arrived and started to give me the real information. Then we had contacts with the Sulu pirates, Philippine pirates, Taiwanese pirates, and Thai pirates.
You say you had contacts and they would come and use the base?
They would come and use the base. They would use the base primarily because there was no telephone, there was no power, it was nothing. They knew that once they were there was no hidden problems. It was like a virgin island. No telephone, nothing. We did have a radio and we did have a generator to generate electricity, but apart from that, nothing.
So at what point did you have a conversation with your wife that says, so you know this holiday that I was taking, it's now looking like it's a business venture and I might need to spend a significant amount of time in the Philippines.
And we own an island.
And she went with it, and she went along with it, and bless her, she was with it.
Did she come over?
Oh yeah, my daughter came over. My other daughter from England came over. She managed it for 6 months, and we were all in it.
Did they all know the pirate base aspect of it, or they just understood of it as a result?
Well, they knew something pirate was going on.
Yeah.
But we tried to push it, to hide the pirate part and push it as an ecological resort, right?
Yeah.
And we had customers from all over the world, especially from Hong Kong and Italy, which were enough to pay for its upkeep.
Yeah. And how How secret was the pirate aspect made? Is it a separate rooms at the
It
back?
started off exceptionally secret, but slowly, because of things happening, it slowly became kind of common knowledge.
That's yeah. There's a tourist guest sitting down for a dinner, for a breakfast, and there's a whole load of pirates come in and have their meeting right next to them.
All kinds of stuff happened there. We were there for 16 years, 16
years?
Yeah. 16 years until the telephone arrived. Once the telephone arrives, you got to go.
Why?
Any pirate business, you don't want telephones. You don't want.
Why? Someone could hear something, pass it on to someone else,
Absolutely.
Which could get in the middle of what's
You've
happening.
got to be somewhere where there is no connection at all.
And explain that a little bit more for people that wouldn't understand. Like, what could happen if with the telephone?
You've got a meeting between Sulu pirates from near Brunei, Korean pirates, or Taiwanese pirates. First of all, they don't speak the same language, so they need a long time to get to understand each other. And my job in the middle was to facilitate this understanding.
How, when you don't speak the languages?
We're all pirates, regardless of the language, your mentality is the same. So once you've got the same mentality, it's a lot easy to find a way of communicating, find a way of understanding each other. And well, for 16 years we did. And yeah.
How did your family feel being there? Because this is for
well,
people
my daughter loved it. She still loves
it's a
it.
dream island to go.
It was a dream island, and I was on the safest piece of land in the world. Nothing
Why?
could happen to me.
Why is that the safest piece? Of land?
I had an umbrella. I was totally protected. You see, that area is called Samar, and that area was a no-go area before I arrived.
Why?
Because of the NPA. They're called the New People's Army. They were the communist insurgents in the area, and they had been at war with Marcos for dozens of years, and they kind of controlled everything that was happening there. On the ground. Not on the ground, there was the congressman who himself had connections to the New People's Army, but was squeaky clean and was a politician in Congress in the government. In actual fact, he was the Speaker of the House.
Wow.
So it was a really safe place. I found a really old photo of the island. You'll see it's the island with flag.
Oh yeah.
And this is the congressman.
Okay.
This is the president of the Philippines, and that's me.
And when was that taken?
That was taken the day before. He was impeached and arrested and put in prison. And that's the last photograph.
The congressman?
No, the president.
President. Wow.
That's the last official photograph taken by the president's photographer. And you'll notice he's got his presidential armband on. Mm. The morning afterwards, he was in prison. 2 mornings after that, I was gone. No choice. Had to go.
What's the process by which no choice had to go? That happened and you went, I've got to sort myself out, or people...
You are a friend of the ex-president.
Yeah.
There's a new president. You are persona non grata.
So how did you go? You're at the Flying Dog at this point? When you met him?
Handed the Flying Dog over to the mayor.
How quickly, when you're on an island that, as you said, it's protected in one sense?
And also you've been there 16 years, right?
Well, it happened in the space of 2 months. When he was first charged,
Mm-hmm.
I then worked for the Defence Council, headed by the Congressman. I came up with some information that could have saved him, and that information. This is me telling the president why he is going to be impeached tomorrow morning.
Why? So among the 500 questions I've got right now,
totally stitched up. He wasn't.
But how did you know that he was going to be impeached the next day?
Oh, I didn't know he was going to be impeached. I knew why he was being stitched up and how. So I thought if I could get quickly to Manila, and I flew to Manila in a private plane to meet him in his house, to explain to him, look, these are the two guys who have stitched you up, which was the and the who stitched him up. And he said to me, I said, this is the truth. He said, it's too late for truth. It's too late for truth, which was telling me that he knew that it's the end. So I then had a couple of days to the end for myself as well.
And so from being there for 16 years, things come to a head and you're like, we need to get out. And you're basically out within 2 months.
2 days.
Right. So, but you'd suspected things for about 2 months.
Yeah.
So you suspected things for about 2 months in a way that allows you to begin to prepare and think about an exit strategy? Or did your exit strategy start as soon as you knew that he was impeached? And you're like,
more or less, yes. Although it probably started even before then. There's always an exit strategy. And the exit strategy was simply, here's the keys, hand them over to the local mayor who was a friend.
The local mayor of the island?
Yeah. It's yours, get on with it.
And so how did your family respond to the idea that, like, having made a life there for 16 years, in 48 hours we need to get out? And also, where were you going to go to?
Back to Italy.
Right.
You still have the place in Italy?
Oh, yeah, I had the factory in Italy.
Yeah.
Everything was fine in Italy. And so my wife, Italian, she wasn't unhappy at all. She thought that was a good thing. My daughter and my other daughter, they were a little bit sad about it because they loved the place. But when you have to go, you have to go.
Right, I'm like, okay, so if you're being smuggled out of the country, there's all sorts of reasons. You could have murdered someone, you want to get away with it. You could have stolen something and you want to get away with it.
Could have enemies and you want to get away from them.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you don't ask questions.